and bonjour.
Yeah, good morning.
Today we 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 could have spoken French because Dominique is French, and usually when we speak French, but we're going to speak English for LARVOL Friends, our weekly appointment to talk about various topics related to data, related to the work we do at LARVOL, and recently increasingly related to AI applied to the field of AI. Dominique is an AI expert, a natural language processing expert. He's going to, in a minute, give us a quick summary of his impressive background, which started in Grenoble in France and at HP. And then we're going to talk about trends in AI and in healthcare, notably, of course, the trends related to large language model and ChatGPT, which some of you might be tired of hearing about, but you shouldn't, because LLM, ChatGPT is going to, I'm convinced of it, change our life in many, many ways. So, Dominique Lahaix, welcome to the show.
It's my pleasure.
So we have that affectionate term for our team of French engineers. We call them the Frengineers. And
Okay.
Dominique is one of our Frengineers. He's also running his own company, Ecan. And in addition, he's advising us in AI. And we work together for a number of years on a number of projects. So, Dominique, for our audience, I will ask you to do something very un-French of you, which
Mhm.
is to brag a little bit about all of your great credentials. Assume your mother is not listening and
Okay.
tell us all the great things you've done in your career, please.
Okay. So yeah, I've worked in software and in AI for a very, very long time. If I look at what I've done, significantly, so starting in the 80s, so late 80s, so it's a long time ago. So I built an organization at HP where we build system for support and consulting, so large system. These were quite early at the time. So our goal was ultimately to help call center agents to get very quickly to responses, although they didn't have the knowledge. And we were building knowledge transfer system from the backend engineer to the front end people. And at the time, so we built a very innovative system. Many patents. Uh, we built an organization of around 50 people where we were collecting it was kind of a factory of knowledge. So we were buying data from the software vendors, to get some information about the product, how they were working, cases. And so I worked on this for a pretty long time at HP. I also did a little bit of project around um, that's one more on the psychological side. How how to help consultants to share their knowledge with HP, which is always a tricky thing because your knowledge is your value, and so how do you motivate people to share knowledge and so that it's reused by other people in the company? So I worked in that area. For many years. Way back. And I moved to the US 17 years ago now, where I built from scratch a startup um, in the area of social intelligence. So what we've been doing, in that time is map the social web so that so identify people who are similar, and whether they have similar profile, expertise, a large group of people, and then building intelligent solution around that. So we do this for identifying key opinion leader, influencer, identifying content, that in a vertical domain that is highly relevant. And we mainly work for two industries, so the finance and tech. So we over the years, so we specialized for this in this two industry. And in 5 years ago, so I stopped doing AI for it's about 7 years, and I decided 5 years ago because I realized that domains there were lots of applicability. So in like of socially, applying AI to social data, and so as an example, so we build models to predict whether someone is affluent depending on his social activity, social graph, and social data. And we also worked on the various uh, models to um, spot key tweets, key piece of information uh, for sales, for marketing, for some type of purpose. So that's that. I mean, my background in a few minutes. And we have also done a little some research in our existing company again with patent R&D. So I've always worked at the border of research and business. And in the last year that I've also done strategic consulting in AI. So usually for people who are who understand that they have an opportunity leveraging AI for their business, but they don't know where to start. So looking at their existing business and operations, so it's identifying opportunities and building it from a ground, from scratch. So what could be done? What are the initial low-hanging fruit projects that people could work on? Are there any opportunity for IP production, and then building the initial POCs?
For me, one thing stuck in my mind, and I say that to some people, by the way. The first time I heard about embedding, vectorized database, and GPT before the launch of ChatGPT was with Dominique. I had no idea what he was talking about. He was saying, "Oh yeah, there is that GPT. It was two probably at the time, maybe one, and now they come with GPT two, and it's a big deal." And I wasn't quite sure whether you had an hallucination yourself,
Mhm.
and you saw something that might not become a reality. It was probably 1 year before the launch of ChatGPT. So nobody was talking about GPT except maybe extreme specialists. And you told me, Bruno, this is a big deal. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
So forever,
Yeah.
you will
So
get credit for being the first person to tell me about ChatGPT, embedding, vectorization.
yeah, in my day-to-day activity, I'm reading a lot. So and I'm always trying to spare a few hours a day reading, so reading research. So I think it's really important for the work that I do. And yeah, I've been excited about LLM for a couple of years.
But how did you know, or did you know, that ChatGPT would become such a huge deal? Oh, well, yeah, you were interested in it, but you did not know, video. Did you predict emerging possibilities and the extraordinary impact and growth of ChatGPT? Did you
I,
know something was happening that was really unique?
I knew that the large language model were clearly a paradigm shift in comparing to what had been done before. But in my mind, so ChatGPT is more, business and UI, paradigm shift because what they really did is put it in the hands of the users and users. So
Yeah.
we've been using a large language model for a couple of years now. So it's just that they took the extra step of delivering a pretty good UI to the general public, and so that I clearly did not try it. So that I was
Right.
by surprise as
But
well.
you knew that the underlying technology was a discontinuity, was a big
Yeah,
deal with the challenge. I do remember
yeah, it's a big deal.
vividly the conversation we had at the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a big
so
deal, and people, and me. I mean, we still have to figure out how big of a deal is it. So it's a we know it's a big deal. We start so to see that it's not magic. So there's still a lot of questions around ChatGPT, what you can do without it, what you're not gonna, I mean, what you'll not be able to do without it. There are some people who work on other completely different approaches to AI, more reasoning based, Bayesian type of stuff, which may come back as well. So the I mean, what really made it a big thing is the availability of data. I mean, massive availability of data, and the use of the computer power. I mean,
right.
that's definitely
Well, let me push back on something you said. You said it's not magic. Let me argue that it is magic. And because I read a number of people commenting, expert, and they would imply that they don't know really. I mean, they understand how it works, but they don't understand how the emergent reasoning, near human reasoning, came out of the large language model. We understand it's a autocomplete of large scale. It just
yeah.
statistically calculates the next word. Okay, I understand that description, but the fact that it could pretend so well to have near intelligence level, I think it's magic. And I think I'm a non-tech, so I can be lyrical at
Yeah.
times and dramatic, but I did see a number of people who seem to be in the field admitting that they don't really understand how LLM emergently start to do things all of a sudden, out of the blue, just based on reaching a certain threshold of size. All of a sudden, they can understand things that they couldn't before, do calculation that they couldn't before. So to me, it seems magical. And remember that phrase that many people have used, which is any technology advanced enough are becoming indistinguishable from magic. So I would agree with magic in my world.
I think it's still early to tell. And, I mean, it's a vast scientific body of knowledge. So I feel like, we are like a chef, and we are using, I mean, when you're a chef, so you build your mayonnaise or vinaigrette, okay, kind of,
Yeah.
you don't have knowledge about, chemistry, agriculture, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the position where I think most of people are seeing themselves. I mean, so we're just, mixing all these things with ChatGPT, and we understand that it's doing something that's look, magic, but even the experts, I think that they don't have, the full understanding of the layer of the technology behind. So from deep mathematics to, neural nets to, so that's why I think it's very difficult to get a fair answer on how can it, how much can it do, and even is it gonna stay in its current form? So, so sometimes it looks the magic. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work, and in the
I,
and we know that. I mean, the only thing that it knows what to do is to predict, the next token. So, and then the
right,
next
right,
token. So I think we need to be very careful. We also need to
right.
reflect that most of what has been done with AI has not worked. I mean, if you look at the failure rate of AI projects, I mean, it's 80, 90% easily. and
Wow.
and we have seen a few what we call AI waiters. I mean, people who have some experience. I mean, I was referring to the late uh, 80s, like 85, 90. We were even not mentioning the word AI at the time. I mean, although we were working on
Right.
an AI system, but it was so bash, in the industry that you were mentioning AI in your product and you had a black mark because it
Oh,
was
yeah.
doomed to fail.
Right.
so now,
Yeah.
so now it's
Oh, I remember clearly that time. Yeah. Yeah.
so, and and if the other thing is that if we look at the reason why AI project fails, it's really because of the model, of the. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all most of the case, and I have seen it, in the numerous projects that I've worked on. It's because either the project is not properly framed, okay, so or we don't have the data, or so big. I mean, data is the big issue there. So, and we already see it
Hmm.
with ChatGPT. So, model works, but I mean, more and more. So we see, I mean, the emerging application architecture who tend to limit ChatGPT for working on a controlled set of data. And most of the controversy around ChatGPT are around data. So I mean, what kind of data? Copyrighted data, hallucination. So all the logic of vectorizing the world, predicting the next, this works fine. But it's all a problem of data. And so I think that from a business standpoint, so we'll see a lot of people disappointed with ChatGPT, and and but in the meantime, so we will have some industry application where I mean it's not just going to be logging in ChatGPT, asking a question, just getting a response. It's going to be pretty large solution where companies structure and build their own their own data and use the reasoning part, or I mean the I mean the weights of the model and the predicting ability, but on a much more controlled set of data. So I think that that's the next way. And the other thing is that when you look at how the system is trained, I mean, it's not very smart. I mean, so it's it's like taking as much data as you can get. I mean, and I mean, the French say so. Une tête bien faite versus une tête bien pleine. So we're clearly a full head versus a well-functioning head, and the paradigm behind ChatGPT is really the a full head. I mean, very basic things like I mean, you train it on data, you you don't, let's say, treat differently data based on what it's coming from. So whether you talk about oncology, where you have some expertise, or it's an article from a junior who has never worked in the field, it's just token for the learning. So the I mean, I think that there is a lot that can be done in training process to build better systems. We don't know how to forget. Okay, it's currently impossible to make the model forget bad data, which is a big issue. I mean, and a lot of things like that. So I think it's still very, really, rudimentary. I mean, the training process is brute force and
Hmm.
not very clever, which I think, in the long run, uh, we, in my opinion, so there needs to be a lot done on that training process in order to build systems that are, higher reasoning capability.
Mhm. You said that there's starting to be some disappointments. Is the peak of hype for LLM from large language model for ChatGPT, is that peak of hype behind us? So are we going through
I
a time where it's gonna go down and it was a bit of a like maybe the metaverse a year ago or 2 years ago?
I yeah, I don't think it's gonna be as like the metaverse or like I mean like the NFTs or
Yep.
because I mean maybe because I mean that's it. So I see the applicability of LLMs is really interesting, and there's a lot that can be done and will be done. But I, I think we're starting to see that there are some use cases where ChatGPT or equivalent are really good, and it's mainly when you provide the data. When if you look at it's not so much the generative part, but the summarization works really well. I mean, you can use it as I mean, text spell checker. That's what I that's that's what I use ChatGPT a lot. Categorization, text classification, summarization. The generative part is really where it's still not completely clear on how much ChatGPT can do. There are also competitors on the board. Board is providing an interesting alternative to ChatGPT. So yeah, I think there's still I think there are a lot of people who jump on every new technology, and these people would probably let it go for a while. But in the back, in the back end, and in companies, more people will have a serious look at LLMs and build their own solution. I just look at the Expedia travel solution. That's a very interesting use case. Or the Bloomberg, Bloomberg GPT. So we should see a lot of this in the coming years. And so the maybe the amount of users is not as big as a generic solution that will answer you. But on the other hand, from a business standpoint, it can have great impact. And same in healthcare. We know that in healthcare, it's a huge opportunity to apply large language model on healthcare data. But it's all about the data.
Yeah. 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 There's that image that perhaps in some years people will not browse the web anymore. They will just ask an agent, a large language model agent like ChatGPT, to say, "I have that question," and the agent will find or summarize a response and then gives a list of links, perhaps sources for that response, and people not browse without first going through an agent. Do you think that's going to happen as a majority of use within the next 10 years? In 10 years, will people
Yeah,
still browse first or they will GPT first?
I think we are adapting to machines, which is a little bit strange because machines should adapt to us. But when you look at Google,
Yeah.
we are adapted to machine, and people write for machine. With all the SEO and so on, which is crazy. If you look at it, so
Right.
I mean, search has been so important that now some people don't write for humans, so they write for the machine. They write for the article to be discovered, to make it to the first page. And so this should go away. In my mind. So if it goes away via the use of ChatGPT interface as a front end, so yeah, that makes sense. But I think that we still will need some explanation on the why. So why do you provide me this response?
Yeah.
The trustability, trustworthiness. This will come back pretty quickly. So initially you see, you use ChatGPT, you get the response, it looks good and it's magic, but after a few weeks or a few months, and after you have had a few bad experience, so you need more. So you need to why, what's your reference, and how, how can you make sure that it's not biased on things that have been fed in the training data. But yeah, from your question, search is not that user friendly, so it could be disrupted by something like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not that user friendly either, so it's slow. When which is interesting because when you look at how much time it takes from when you enter your prompt to when you get the end of your response, it's usually tens of seconds, sometimes more. User will not accept this kind of response time from any system, and you know,
Mm.
and maybe because there is a gaming or magic element, so we're okay with that.
Mm.
We're okay to wait for 20, 30 seconds to get a response from ChatGPT. So that, which we would never have with any, end user system.
Yeah.
Estimating that you Google something and you wait 30 seconds for a response. So
Yes. Oh, yeah. We take for granted 80 milliseconds. We only have a couple of minutes left, actually.
Yeah.
And I would let you the final word that we do per tradition. Shahir Sheikh, our trusted executive producer, just reminded me. So I'll ask you to formulate a takeaway for our audience that they should keep in mind. If they only remember one thing from the 30 minutes together, that's a thing to keep in mind. And as you think about it, I'd like to give everybody a trick about later on, try to figure out if I'm an AI or if I'm the real Bruno. And you can look at my ears. And if the AI cannot move its ears, it means it's not a real Bruno. It's a deep fake with a fake voice as well. So next time I talk, check the ears. If you're not sure, ask me to move my ears. And if the AI doesn't move his ears, it means it's an AI. It's not me. All right. On that note, the final word is with you, Dominique, for today's edition of LARVOL Friends.
Yeah, so as everyone, I'm really excited about ChatGPT and LLM. I think it's one thing people should remember, that it's not just the model. It's all about the data, and it's all about how you frame your problem. And in the coming years, I think we're going to see a lot of business applications that use LLM. I'm not so sure about pure end user out of the box solution ChatGPT on whether they will stay. So it's a paradigm shift. So it's really important, but it's going to take more than just building a larger model or using GPT 5, 6, and getting the solution. And so we need to get something that's traceable, trustworthy, non-biased, and that's something that people should pay attention in the coming year. So there is a huge risk, if we don't.
Dominique, thank you very much. Merci.
Thank you. Nothing. I think